My dad introduced my sister as my only daughter while I stood beside him. So I inherited Mom's entire business empire and left them all with nothing. Before we move forward, please show some love by subscribing and share your location in the comments. I love seeing where our family is watching from. The champagne flutes clinked around us as Dad gripped the microphone at Mom's memorial gala. 6 months after burying her, here we stood in the ballroom of the Meridian Hotel, the same venue where she'd hosted charity events for 20 years. I wore her favorite emerald dress. Dad wore his new girlfriend. I want to thank everyone for supporting my daughter during this difficult time, Dad said, his arms sliding around Sienna's waist. My half-sister. The one who showed up 3 years ago when Dad's affair became a second family. Sienna has been my rock. I stood 2 feet away from him. 2 feet. Close enough to smell his cologne, the one Mom bought him every Christmas. Close enough to see the faces in the crowd shift uncomfortably, eyes darting between us. My mother's business partners, her friends, her legacy watching as I became invisible. Dad. My voice cracked. He didn't even glance over. Sienna will be taking over some of Janelle's roles in the community foundation. She's got a real head for business, unlike... He stopped himself, but the damage detonated in my chest. Unlike me. Unlike Amelia, his legitimate daughter who'd spent every summer since age 12 learning Mom's real estate empire from the ground up. Unlike the girl who'd held his wife's hand as cancer stole her breath. My Aunt Marlene grabbed my elbow. Baby, let's get some air. But I couldn't move. Because Dad was still talking, introducing Sienna to Mom's best friend Patricia, to Mayor Bronson, to everyone who mattered. Erasing me like I was a typo in his story. That's when I remembered. Mom's lawyer had called twice this week. I'd been too grief-stricken to return the calls. Maybe it was time. Sebastian Melton's office smelled like leather and old money. He'd been Mom's attorney for 30 years, a sharp-eyed man who never missed details. The mahogany desk between us held a sealed envelope with my name in Mom's handwriting. Your mother updated her will 4 months before she passed, Sebastian said, sliding the envelope toward me. She was very specific about the timing of this reading. She wanted you to have space to grieve first. My hands trembled as I opened it. Mom's voice echoed through her words. My dearest Amelia, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I already know what your father has done. The room tilted. He knew. I've watched him distance himself from you since Sienna appeared. I've seen him rewrite our history, making room for his mistakes by erasing you. I won't let him erase what we built together. Sebastian cleared his throat. Your mother left you everything. The entire Bradford Real Estate Holdings portfolio. All 47 properties, the commercial developments, the investment accounts. Approximately $82 million in total assets. Everything. The word barely escaped. Your father was listed as a beneficiary in her previous will. She removed him entirely in this update. He gets nothing except his own income. Sebastian leaned forward. There's more. She also left detailed documentation of asset commingling, properties your father claimed were his purchases that were actually funded by her money. You now own his penthouse, the lake house, and the Corvette. I thought of Dad's face at the gala. His arm around Sienna. His erasure of me in front of 200 people. Does he know? Not yet. Per your mother's instructions, we delayed the reading until you were ready. Sebastian's expression softened. She also left you a letter. Private. I'll step out. Alone, I unfolded the second page. Baby girl, I know you're hurt. I know you feel invisible. But you were never invisible to me. You are my greatest achievement, not the buildings or the money. Make them see you now. Make them all see you. Mom. I sat in my car outside Sebastian's office for 20 minutes before dialing. Dad answered on the third ring, irritation already in his voice. Emilia, I'm in a meeting. With who? Sienna. The bitterness surprised even me. What do you want? I'm busy planning the foundation gala. Sienna's got some really innovative ideas for. I met with Sebastian Melton today. Silence. Then, Sebastian? What? The estate settlement isn't for months. It's done, Dad. Mom left me everything. The pause stretched so long I checked if the call had dropped. Everything? No, there must be a mistake. I'm her husband. There's laws about. She updated the will 4 months before she died. It's ironclad. My voice steadied. And Dad? Those properties you've been bragging about. The penthouse, the lake house? Mom bought all of them. They're mine now. You ungrateful little. He caught himself. When he spoke again, his tone dripped with forced calm. Sweetheart, let's have dinner tonight. We can discuss this rationally. You're emotional, you're not thinking clearly. We're family. Like I was family at the memorial. When you introduced Sienna as your only daughter. I never said. You put your arm around her. You talked about your daughter being your rock. I was standing right there, Dad. Right there. My voice cracked. Everyone saw you erase me. Don't be dramatic. You're always so sensitive, just like. He stopped. Just like Mom. He exhaled. Fine. You want to play hardball? Sebastian tell you about the foundation? I'm chairman. That's not going anywhere. I smiled, bitter and cold. Actually, Sebastian said Mom set up the foundation's funding structure. Guess who controls the purse strings now? The line went dead. Dad called a family meeting at the lake house. My lake house now. The next evening. I arrived early, keys from Sebastian jingling in my pocket. The housekeeper, Rosa, opened the door and immediately pulled me into a hug. Miss Emilia, your mama would be so proud, she whispered. He's been insufferable since he heard. Inside, Dad paced the living room while Sienna perched on the couch, scrolling her phone. At 23, she was 4 years younger than me, all Instagram perfect hair and calculated innocence. Dad's girlfriend Vanessa lurked by the window. There she is, Dad said, voice tight. The new real estate mogul. Hi, Dad. I set my purse down deliberately. Sienna. Vanessa. Sienna glanced up. This is so awkward. Can't we just split everything? That seems fair. Fair. The laugh burst out of me. What part of any of this is fair? Dad stepped forward. Emilia, your mother wasn't thinking clearly at the end. The cancer, the medication, we can contest this. Any judge would see. See what? That she deliberately wrote you out? That she documented every purchase you claimed as yours. I pulled out my phone, showing the detailed spreadsheet Sebastian had provided. She kept receipts, Dad. 23 years of receipts. Vanessa spoke up. This is exactly what I was worried about. She always spoiled you, made you think you were entitled to. Shut up. The words came out ice cold. You don't get to talk about my mother in her house. It's not her house anymore, Dad said. And it's not yours either. Not really. You didn't earn any of this. Neither did you. His face reddened. I worked side by side with Janelle for. You worked in marketing for her company. He built the empire. She made the deals. I stood straighter. And I was there for every late night, every site visit, every negotiation. Where were you? Oh right, building a second family. Sienna finally looked uncomfortable. I didn't ask for any of this. You took it anyway. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in Mom's home office. My office now, surrounded by her files. Sebastian had provided everything, but I needed to see it myself. Each folder told a story. 2009. Dad took credit for the Riverside Plaza deal. Mom's notes showed she'd negotiated for 11 months while Dad was traveling for business. Phone records showed calls to Vanessa's number starting that same year. 2013. Dad announced he'd gifted me the BMW for my 21st birthday. The purchase order showed Mom's account, her signature. Dad had just wrapped it and taken the credit. 2015. The lake house. Dad told everyone he'd made a killing in tech stocks. Mom's records showed she'd liquidated bonds our grandmother left her. Dad had contributed nothing. 2018. Sienna appeared. Mom's journal entries started then, neat handwriting that grew shakier near the end. He brought his daughter to our anniversary dinner. Just showed up with her like she was already family. Amelia's face, I'll never forget the look. I failed her by staying. But the next entry. No. I won't fail her in death. Robert wants to rewrite history, make himself the empire builder? Let him try to do it with nothing. I found the photographs next. Mom had documented everything. Dad at dinner with Vanessa while supposedly at conferences, bank transfers to accounts Mom wasn't supposed to know about, emails discussing moving Sienna into the company when the time was right. My phone buzzed. Dad, we need to talk about the foundation board meeting Monday. Don't do anything stupid. I texted back, see you there. Then I called Sebastian. I want a full audit of every financial transaction Dad made using company resources. And Sebastian? I want to know about the foundation bylaws. Everything. Already on it, he said. Your mother predicted this. She left instructions. Of course she did. Mom always was 3 steps ahead. The Bradford Family Foundation operated out of a renovated brownstone downtown. Purchased with Mom's money, I now knew. The board meeting Monday morning had been scheduled before her death to discuss the annual grant allocations. $3.2 million to distribute to local organizations. Dad sat at the head of the table, Sienna beside him taking notes like she belonged there. 8 board members filled the other seats. All people who'd known Mom, worked with her, believed in her vision. I arrived with Sebastian and a second attorney, Jennifer Torres, whose reputation for corporate law made seasoned executives nervous. This is a closed board meeting, Dad said, not even looking at me. Sebastian set his briefcase down. Miss Bradford is the foundation's primary benefactor as of 6 months ago. She has every right to be here. Patricia Williams, Mom's best friend and board secretary, nodded. Janelle's will was clear. Amelia inherits her board seat and financial oversight. Dad's jaw tightened. I'm still chairman. For now, I said quietly, taking the seat directly across from him. The meeting started normally, financial reports, grant applications, budgets. Then Dad presented his proposal. I'm recommending we restructure the foundation's leadership. Sienna has offered to take on an executive director role, which would allow us to expand operations. With what money? I asked. The foundation has reserves. Those reserves are funded by an annual transfer from Bradford Real Estate Holdings. My company. I slid copies of the foundation charter across the table. Article 7, Section 3. The primary benefactor retains financial approval over all operational changes. Dad's face went pale. Jennifer leaned forward. Mr. Bradford, were you aware that Miss Bradford can discontinue funding at any time? The room went silent. She wouldn't, Dad said. These grants support organizations my mother cared about. That I care about. I looked at each board member. Which is why I'm proposing new leadership. Dad, you're relieved as chairman. Patricia, will you take over? Dad exploded. You can't just remove me. I built this foundation. You named it after yourself, Patricia said quietly. Janelle funded it, structured it, and chose every organization we support. I've got the original documents in my files. I pulled out another folder. I also have records showing you've been using foundation funds for personal expenses. The business trip to Aruba last year? Foundation credit card. The catering for Sienna's birthday party? Foundation account. Board member Sebastian McClure whistled low. That's embezzlement. It's a misunderstanding, Dad stammered. Those expenses were documented in detail by my mother before she died. She was building a case. I looked at him directly. She knew everything, Dad. She just wanted me to be strong enough to handle it. Sienna stood abruptly. I don't want any part of this. I didn't know about the money stuff. But you knew about me, I said. At the memorial. You let him introduce you as his only daughter. He said you two weren't close. That you drifted apart. Her voice trembled. I thought. You thought what? That I didn't exist? That my mother's death was your opportunity? The words came out sharper than I intended, but I couldn't stop them. You're wearing her bracelet. The one with the sapphires. Sienna looked down at her wrist, face draining of color. Dad gave it to me. He said it was his to give. It was a gift from my grandmother to my mother on her wedding day. It's in her will, left specifically to me. I held out my hand. Take it off. Amelia, don't be petty, Dad said. Petty? Petty. My voice rose. You gave my mother's jewelry to your mistress's daughter and you're calling me petty? The room held its collective breath. Sienna unclasped the bracelet with shaking hands and set it on the table between us. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't know. But I was done accepting apologies that should never have been needed. The next morning I arrived at Bradford Real Estate Holdings headquarters at 7 a.m. The building Mom bought 20 years ago, 42 stories of glass and steel overlooking the harbor. I'd been given a consultant office on the 14th floor. Mom's executive suite was on 42. Security looked confused when I headed for the top floor. Miss Bradford, your father said. My father is an employee here. I'm the owner. Please update the access logs. I handed him the legal documents Sebastian had prepared. Mom's office, my office, took my breath away. Everything remained exactly as she'd left it. The photos of us together on her desk, the awards lining the walls, the view she'd loved. But something felt wrong. The desk was too clean. Papers gone, computer missing. I called Sebastian. Someone's been in Mom's office. Your father has keys. He's been removing files all week. Rage, hot and sharp, flooded through me. I marched down to the 38th floor where Dad kept his office. His assistant Brenda tried to stop me. He's on a conference call. I walked past her. Dad sat behind his desk, talking animatedly into his headset. When he saw me, he held up one finger. Wait. I walked over and disconnected his call. What the hell? He stood. That was Tokyo. Where are Mom's files? What files? From her office. The deal records, the contract negotiations, the client information. Where is it? Dad's expression shifted, calculating. Those are company property. I'm safeguarding them during the transition. Transition to what? You don't work here anymore. I'm VP of Operations. You were VP of Operations in Mom's company. I'm restructuring. Consider this your 2 weeks' notice. His face went purple. You can't fire me. I can and I am. You've been embezzling from the foundation, stealing company property, and I pulled out another document. According to Mom's records, you've been inflating your expense reports for 7 years. Total theft. Approximately $340,000. Dad sank into his chair. You're going to destroy this family over money? You destroyed this family when you started another one. Word spread fast. By noon my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Aunt Marlene called first, crying with pride. Then my cousins, Mom's former business partners, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone had an opinion. But the call that mattered came at 2 p.m. from an unknown number. Miss Bradford? This is Diane Hatcher from Meyer and Associates. We represent your grandmother's estate. My grandmother? Mom's mother had passed when I was 10. Your maternal grandmother's sister, actually. Grace Bradford. She passed last month in Seattle. You're listed as her primary beneficiary. I sat down hard. I don't understand. I never met her. She and your mother maintained a private relationship. Miss Grace left you her home in Queen Anne, her investment portfolio, and several personal items. The estate is worth approximately $4.7 million. The room spun. Why me? Her letter explains. I'm emailing it now. I opened my laptop with shaking hands. Great Aunt Grace's letter loaded. Dear Amelia, we never met because your father forbade it. He thought I was too radical for encouraging your mother's business ambitions. Janelle and I wrote letters for years. She told me everything, how you loved the business, how he tried to diminish you, how his betrayal broke her heart. I'm giving you this inheritance because your grandmother would have wanted you to be free. Build something he can't touch. Be the woman they both knew you'd become. Grace. I called Mom's oldest friend, Dorothy, who'd known the family history. Tell me about Grace. Dorothy's voice warmed. Oh honey, Grace was magnificent. She built a tech company in the 80s when women weren't supposed to. Your grandfather hated her, thought she was a bad influence. When your dad came along, he did the same thing. Cut her out of your life. Mom never told me. Your mother protected you from a lot. But Grace? She made sure you'd be protected too. That evening I stood in Mom's office. My office, looking at the city lights. 2 inheritances. 2 women who'd built empires and refused to let men erase their legacy. I wasn't going to let him erase mine either. I scheduled a press conference for Friday. Bradford Real Estate Holdings was announcing new leadership and a major strategic shift. Every business reporter in the city showed up, cameras ready. Dad arrived late, Vanessa on his arm. Sienna wasn't with him. She texted me an apology and said she was taking time to figure things out. I actually respected that. I stood at the podium, notes I didn't need in front of me. Thank you for coming. As many of you know, my mother, Janelle Bradford, passed 6 months ago. She built Bradford Real Estate Holdings from a single property investment into an $82 million portfolio. Today I'm honored to continue her legacy. Flashbulbs popped. Dad shifted uncomfortably in the front row. I'm announcing several immediate changes. First, Bradford Real Estate will be renamed Janelle Bradford Holdings to properly honor its founder. Second, we're establishing the Janelle Bradford Scholarship Fund. $5 million annually for young women pursuing business and real estate development. Applause rippled through the room. I saw Patricia wiping tears in the third row. Third, I'm announcing that my father, Robert Bradford, is no longer with the company. We thank him for his years of service in marketing and operations. Dad stood up. This is a hostile takeover by a child who doesn't understand business. The room went silent. A reporter's camera swung toward him. My mother understood business perfectly, I said calmly. She understood it well enough to document every financial irregularity, every misappropriated fund, every lie. Should I continue, Dad? Or would you prefer to exit quietly? He looked around at the cameras, the reporters, the business leaders who'd respected Mom. Then he grabbed Vanessa's hand and walked out. I finished the press conference professionally, answered questions about our development pipeline, discussed market strategy. But inside I was shaking. Not from fear. From freedom. Dad hired a lawyer, threatened to sue for his share of the business. His attorney, Gerald Price, was expensive and aggressive. We met in Sebastian's conference room, neutral ground, professional setting. My client was married to Janelle Bradford for 25 years, Price began. He's entitled to marital assets regardless of what the will says. Sebastian didn't blink. Your client signed a post-nuptial agreement 17 years ago acknowledging all business assets as Mrs. Bradford's separate property. We have it notarized and filed. Dad's face went pale. That agreement was signed after you were caught having your first affair, I said quietly. Mom told me about it last year. She gave you a choice. Sign the agreement or divorce. You signed. Price shuffled papers. There's still the matter of the foundation, the house. The house is in my name, I said. Has been since I turned 18. Mom gifted it to me, paid the taxes, everything legal. The foundation is funded by my company, which makes me the controlling party. Dad's chairman position was honorary. This is financial abuse, Dad said desperately. She's punishing me for moving on with my life. Moving on. The words exploded out of me. You started cheating before I was in high school. You built a whole second family while Mom was dying. You introduced another girl as your daughter at her memorial. Sienna is my daughter. So am I. My voice cracked. I was standing right there, Dad. Right beside you. And you looked through me like I was nothing. The conference room went silent. Even Price looked uncomfortable. Sebastian cleared his throat. Mr. Bradford, Miss Bradford is prepared to offer a settlement. $50,000, the Corvette, and a release from any foundation liability for the misappropriated funds. If you sign away all claims to the estate and resign quietly. $50,000? Dad laughed bitterly. Out of $82 million? $50,000 more than Mom wanted you to have, I said. Take it, Dad. It's more than you deserve. He stared at me, this man who'd read me bedtime stories and taught me to ride a bike, who'd also erased me for a newer family. You've become hard, he said finally. I've become strong. There's a difference. 3 months later, I stood in the newly renovated Bradford, now Janelle Bradford Holdings, lobby watching the dedication ceremony. Mom's portrait hung in the atrium, 8 feet tall, her smile captured in that moment of triumph when she'd closed the Riverside Plaza deal. She'd love this, Aunt Marlene said beside me. All of it. The scholarship fund had received 847 applications. We'd award 25 full-ride scholarships this year. The foundation, under Patricia's leadership, had increased grant funding by 30%. The business itself was thriving, 3 new acquisitions in the pipeline, including a historic renovation project Mom had dreamed about for years. Dad had signed the settlement. He and Vanessa moved to Florida, where he apparently started a consulting business that promptly failed. I heard through family gossip that Sienna had gone back to school, switched her major to nursing. She'd sent me a letter. Amelia, I know I can't fix what happened. I was young and stupid and I believed Dad's version of everything. Your mom was incredible. I looked her up, read everything. I understand now what I took from you just by existing in that space. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I see it now. Sienna. I hadn't responded yet. Maybe someday. Patricia touched my shoulder. The reporters are ready. The press conference was about the business expansion, but someone asked about my father. We've moved forward separately, I said carefully. Sometimes family means choosing people who choose you back. That night, I sat in Great-Aunt Grace's Seattle house, which I'd kept instead of selling. Her letters to Mom filled 3 boxes, a chronicle of 2 women refusing to be diminished. The last letter, dated 2 weeks before Grace died, was addressed to me. Amelia, if Janelle did her job right, you're reading this as a free woman. Never apologize for taking up space. Never shrink to make small men comfortable. Build empires. Your mother did. I did. Now it's your turn. Grace. I was 32 years old, owned 2 multi-million-dollar companies, and had finally stepped out of everyone's shadow into my own light. I was done being invisible. 1 year after Mom's death, I hosted the annual Janelle Bradford Memorial Gala. Same hotel, same ballroom, completely different energy. The room glowed with success stories. Scholarship recipients, foundation grant winners, women building businesses with resources Mom and I had made possible. I wore the emerald dress again, Mom's sapphire bracelet on my wrist, Great Aunt Grace's watch on the other. Armor made of love. Miss Bradford. A young woman approached, nervous and bright-eyed. I'm Tamara Johnson. I got one of your scholarships. I just wanted to say, her voice caught. My dad told me I couldn't major in business, that I should be a teacher or a nurse. Something safe. Your program changed my life. I gripped her hand. Make him watch you succeed. He grinned. Already am. Patricia found me later, champagne in hand. Your mother would be so proud. Not just of the business, of who you've become. I'm still angry sometimes, I admitted. About Dad, about all of it. Anger isn't always bad. Sometimes it's fuel. She clinked her glass against mine. You turned yours into something beautiful. I took the microphone at 9, looking out at 300 faces. Some I knew, many I didn't. All connected by Mom's vision, now expanded by my determination. Thank you for being here to honor Janelle Bradford. My mother taught me that legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you build forward. This past year I've learned she was right about everything. About business, about strength, about refusing to be erased. I paused, finding the words. Someone tried to make me invisible once. Tried to replace me while I stood there watching. But you can't erase someone who refuses to disappear. You can't diminish someone who knows their worth. My mother knew hers. She made sure I knew mine. The applause built slowly, then thundered. I saw tears, nods, recognition in eyes that had felt the same dismissal, the same erasure. So here's to the women who built empires. The ones who documented everything, who planned ahead, who refused to let their stories be rewritten. Here's to my mom, my great aunt, and every woman who ever said, I will not be forgotten. I raised my glass. And here's to us, the daughters who inherited not just their wealth but their fire. The room rose as one, glasses high, voices strong. Later, alone in my office, I opened Mom's final letter. The one Sebastian said to read when you're ready. Baby girl, if you're reading this, you won. Not just the money, you won yourself back. I watched your father try to diminish you for years, and I watched you shine anyway. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. I'm not sorry I gave you everything. You earned it by being you, brilliant, strong, capable, mine. Build something so magnificent that no one will ever be able to pretend you weren't there. I love you forever. Mom. I pressed the letter to my chest and let myself cry. For her, for lost time, for the dad I'd once had before he chose easier daughters. But mostly I cried with gratitude. Because she'd given me more than money. She'd given me proof that I mattered. That I was seen. That I was loved enough to be protected even after she was gone. I was Amelia Bradford, daughter of Janelle Bradford, inheritor of empires, invisible to no one. And I was just getting started.